Alright everyone, I'm back here. Today we're talking about one best off-season move from all 31 NHL teams. Now it was so hard to pick one best off-season move because some of them are like, I can pick so many, why did I have to pick one? I had to, made a little challenge for myself, and it is. So the requirements are, it can go through the trade for this off-season. It can also be a free agent they sign this off season, or through the draft. So you have three options. Let's go for it. Let's go for the first one. Starting with making it hard to come up with a number one best off-season move by this team. I'm talking about the Montreal Canadiens. There were so many off-season moves. I finally thought about it and I made my decision, and I picked Jake Allen. I wanted to pick Toffoli. That was the guy I wanted to go for, but I just felt like Jake Allen will be that. Because for years, the Montreal Canadiens needed a backup goalie. Price was there. He gets injured. He was, not saying he always gets injured, but it just, gets tired and just never found a perfect backup goalie. You had Niemi and Montoya and lingering, it was Tartarsky at times, a couple years ago, that. Just looking at those, and the best goalie duo they had was when Price and Halak was together, and Price wasn't even the number one goalie. Now, ever since he was the number one goalie for like the last 10 years, he never had a proper backup goalie. Finally, this year, he has proper backup goalie. Jake Allen, he's perfect in his position. He's been a number one goalie in his life. He's been a backup goalie in his life. He doesn't care if he's a backup goalie, and he doesn't care if he has to take over at moments during the season and help out if someone's injured. What if Price is injured? He comes in, saves the season. If Price was injured and had lingering, you don't want to bring on premium too early. That's just a disaster. I don't care how good your team is, that's a disaster. I'm sorry, but it is. So that's why I feel like Jake Allen is that key piece. Fantastic. That's why I picked Josh Anderson. You have Edmondson, you have Toffoli, even Romanov I can put out there too. But Jake Allen, I feel like, is the best offseason move, the best one, and they didn't have to give up much whatsoever. So absolutely fantastic. Now, moving on to the Red Wings, I had Troy Stetchup. I also said, to the draft, Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond's been absolutely fantastic right now in Europe. He's just tearing it up like we know he would. And I feel like he's going to make it for the opening day roster. I just feel like he's going to make it. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't. But I just feel like Lucas Raymond will make the roster. And he's going to be such an important player for this young team. A big key piece in this lineup. And that's just a home run for them. Getting Lucas Raymond, I know, we should have got Lafreniere. We're supposed to be first with the top three. Why did we go to 4? This is not fair. I gotta say, they had many options, and they picked the right option. Definitely Lucas Raymond. I wanted Rossi, but Raymond is also a fantastic option. Moving on to the Ottawa Senators. Yes, I don't have the new logo. I do, and somehow I don't know my sizes, and it wasn't small enough to be a medium magnet, but it was the big magnets, which now I have a ton of big magnets for the new logos, so there you go. I didn't want to fit the big magnet and have all the medium ones. Kind of look weird, so just pretend it's the new 2D logo. Just put it out there. So Tim Stützle is the best one from this offseason. I know that I put Dadonov. Could be a definitely fantastic option, but I picked Tim Stützle. Tim Stützle is that center they need, that German skater, fantastic player. I feel like he is that center. He's going to be that guy. He's the best offseason move. This is what they needed. Fantastic. Moving on to the Boston Bruins, they didn't really make any moves, and the best one I have to say is Craig Smith. You add to that right wing, add to that depth, losing Pasternak, losing Marchand, stings for the season. So at least you have Craig Smith and Kase. I guess not. It doesn't even out whatsoever, but I guess it makes it the whole shorter. I should say the gap smaller. So having Craig Smith, a good experienced guy, $3.1 million. I like the contract, pretty solid. Going on to the Maple Leafs, there's a lot of players I can pick. A lot of players. But I really focused on one. I felt TJ Brody is the best offseason move. They're adding a guy who can be a puck-moving defenseman who used to be in Calgary, was fantastic as puck-moving defenseman. He's fantastic. And you add him to the blue line with on the power play. You have Morgan Riley maybe on the first power play. Second power play, the quarterback, TJ Brody. And then on defense, you have Muzzin. And you got a really solid core. So I think it's fantastic to have TJ Brody, for sure. Next one, the Panthers. I picked this one. I think it's the home run for the Panthers. Vaco Gudis. They needed a guy who can be a physical defenseman, meaning in their own end, to help not have players coming into the goalie crease and scoring a bunch of goals and be wide open. That guy right there, Vaco Gudis, exactly what they need. And they don't have to pay a big bucks for him. He's a guy who's not going to put a lot of points up, but that's what they don't need right now. They have Ekblad, they have Yandel. Those are the guys who get the points. Gudis, great shutdown defenseman, great mobile defenseman, and he's underrated. I really do like Gudis, and I'm glad he's going to the Panthers because it's a good place for him, and I definitely need him on defense to have a bounce back year for Sergei Bobrovsky, if anything. Hope they can. Moving on to the Lightning, which I had to put under this. This is also a re-signed. Re-signed UFA. There was no one else. But I said, the best one is Pat Maroon, I have to say. Pat Maroon, great leader, and 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back with with the Blues in 2019, Lightning in 2020. Good for him. And he resigns a 2-year contract. So, cheap contract, but keeps him there for another 2 years. Moving on to the best Buffalo Sabres move. And this one is Taylor Hall. Now, Taylor Hall, who expected him to go to Buffalo? Put your hands down now, because guess what? You didn't think of that. Taylor Hall is a guy who we thought would maybe Colorado, maybe the Bruins, maybe Nashville, maybe people saying Montreal, people, those things, Calgary, thinking winning teams. And then when he went to Buffalo, well, they weren't a winning team, were they? But the offseason moves they made was absolutely fantastic. And having Taylor Hall in that bunch, play with Eichel and Reinhardt, fantastic. I have to say that's so good. Having Taylor Hall, $8 million, 1 year. So yeah, another big contract, but I'm sure they can figure something out there because he likes Ralph Krueger as the head coach. He said he really felt like he had a really solid year with the Oilers that year with Ralph Krueger. I know he wasn't at the best year, but he really enjoyed that year, that 1 year with him. So sometimes head coaches lure good players in. In this case, it did. So, moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers, adding a defenseman after Matt Niskanen retiring. Kind of surprised because he had another year on his contract. That kind of came out of the blue. And I was like, alright, wow. Wasn't expecting that. But they bring Eric Gustafsson, who actually had 60 points 2 years ago. That might be the most he ever puts in his career. But he's a good power play quarterback. Great on the power play, and they really struggled in the power play in the playoffs, so maybe they can help them in that standpoint. Moving on to the Islanders, I have not signed anyone. So I just put re-sign you RFA Ryan Pollock, okay? This is the best one so far, because I haven't signed Barzell. So, moving on to the next one, and that's the Devils signing or trading for Ryan Murphy. Now, there was also Andreas Johansson out there. There was other ones, but I went with Ryan Murphy. They needed a defenseman. They bring him in for only a 5th round pick. For a guy like him, I know he's been injured, but getting him only for a 5th round pick to move out cap, that is absolutely a steal of a trade. That is absolutely fantastic. And what Tom Fitzgerald did there, I like all the moves that Tom Fitzgerald has done. Even back at the deadline when he became interim GM, everything he's done, I have enjoyed. Everything he's done. I thought, perfect. Everything made sense. Even in the draft. Moving on to the Rangers, and I hope this is your favorite offseason move for the Rangers? I'm sure it is. Alexis Lafreniere adding a number 1 pick after having really stacked roster for prospects and young team. Adding, all right, here you go, Lafreniere. Get swept by the qualifying round by Hurricanes. Oh, disappointed. Or the lottery, I don't know. Oh yeah, you win the lottery. Wow, yeah. We don't care, Canes, that we got swept. No, thank you. We'll move on to the playoffs. We get Lafreniere. Yay, thanks. And definitely, he's going to right out of the gate be a fantastic player. Adding him to that team, my goodness. Rangers have an absolute fantastic rebuild. It's absolutely fantastic. Sometimes rebuilds go bad, and some rebuilds just go absolutely too well to be true. There you go. Rangers not too well to be true, but it's been solid. That's going to be fantastic. I expect them to make the playoffs next year. Next is the Capitals adding Henrik Lundqvist. I think that's the best. Adding Henrik Lundqvist, having him with Samsonov. I think Samsonov can learn from Henrik Lundqvist for all the seasons, being a top-level goalie, which I'm sure Samsonov wants to be, and what the Washington Capitals want him to be too. So having that experience and knowing that Lundqvist is chasing a cup, so he wants that. They have Ovechkin, they have Oshie, they have Backstrom, they have Kuznetsov, they have Wilson. They have a solid team. So no wonder why Lundqvist wanted to go to the Capitals. Alright, moving on to the Penguins. Kasperi Kapanen. I haven't really liked what the Penguins done in this offseason. Matheson, adding him, I was like, Cody Ceci, things like that. I was like, what is happening? But this is the best one. Kapanen, they gave up Phil Hollander, which I wasn't so crazy they gave him up for. But trading for Kapanen after trading him to Toronto for Phil Kessel, now bringing him back. There you go. Kapanen is only 24, turning 25 probably for the season. And I think it'll be a solid winger. I think he's going to be taking Hornquist's spot. That's why Hornquist got shipped out to the Panthers for Matheson. Thinking about it now, that's what happened. Exactly. So, moving on to the Carolina Hurricanes. They really didn't do anything this offseason. And the best one, Jesper Fosk. Yes, Jesper Fosk adding some depth to the team, that forward depth. It's always great to have. And Jesper Fosk used to be a Ranger, but now he's a Carolina Hurricanes for about 2 years, I think. So a good contract for the Carolina Hurricanes, bringing the depth. Why not? Moving on to next, the Blue Jackets, Max Domi for you know who we're talking about, Josh Anderson, for the Montreal Canadiens. So he went from Montreal to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm sure the Columbus Blue Jackets are aiming him for a center spot. They want to make him a center. He wants to be a center, and they want him to be a center. Because you have a pretty good center spot, right? You have Dubois, you have Domi, you have Koivu. I like it. Top 3 centers, I like it very much. So we'll see what Max Domi can do. Does he get back to that 72-point season or close enough to it? We'll see. Like he did in 18-19 season. Moving on to the Minnesota Wild, I have to say this is the best one. Kirill Kaprizov. Absolutely fantastic. He is going to be your guy, and he is going to be an absolute stud for the Minnesota Wild. What a fantastic player he's going to be. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic winger, fantastic Russian player. And if he can do fantastic in the KHL like he did, absolutely fantastic in the KHL, I have no doubt that he can be amazing in the NHL. No doubt he can be. So, Kaprizov, can't wait to see what he can do next season, for sure. Moving on to the St. Louis Blues. Alright, Pietrangelo, you can't get something together while you go to, whatever. See ya. Well, hello, Troy Krug. You want to come in? Oh, yeah, I'm coming in. Oh, yes, Troy Krug is our new acquisition. And probably Pietrangelo. It's like, what? Wow. Alright. Thanks a lot, Blues. So, Troy Krug goes to the St. Louis Blues after being with Boston his whole career. I was thinking about this happening, but I'm like, I don't know. Look at that. I don't think many people thought this was going to happen. Maybe a lot thought the Red Wings, but I was like, I actually thought that. You're probably like, no way. I actually did, but I wasn't seriously thinking about it. I was just like, I wonder if this would happen. Well, guess what? Guess it did, right? So Troy Krug is with the Blues. It would definitely change that defense, being an offensive, puck-moving, power play specialist. He could play with Parenko. He could, because Parenko's going to be the best, or going to be the lead on that defense. So it could be Krug and Parenko. It could be something like that. Falk and maybe Falk and Dunn, Bortuzzo and Gunnarsson. So maybe that's what it is. Just thinking how the decor really has changed. Really will be different. Alright, the Nashville Predators, I thought this was the best one. Luke Cunnin. Basically for Bonino, I know they gave up a second and third, but bringing Luke Cunnin at 31 points, picked in the 2015 draft by Minnesota, a late first rounder, but I like Luke Cunnin. I'm surprised they ever traded him. The wild trade Luke Cunnin to the Predators. I was so surprised, but good pickup by the Predators. I really do like that. Moving on to the Blackhawks, they bring in Nikita Zadorov, basically for shipping out Brendan Saad to the Avalanche. Adding him, he is a great physical defenseman, shutdown guy. On that blue line, they do need a guy on that blue line. They did bring him in Zadorov, because they are going through a rebuild, yes. For the Colorado Avalanche, I was thinking Saad or Devin Taves. I went with Devin Taves. Devin Taves is a great puck-moving defenseman, and adding him to your decor, I was looking, Taves without Taves. Taves without Taves. I'm like, without Taves, thinking about it, wow. And maybe adding Bowen Byron to that whole setup too. My goodness, this is going to be fantastic. So, I think Devin Taves is the best acquisition for the Colorado Avalanche. 2 seconds, 2021 and 2022, I believe, that Colorado had to give up, but who cares? They are fantastic. Moving on to the Winnipeg Jets, something they most likely we knew they needed for a long time, and that's the second line center. 2 years ago, they brought him in. He played fantastic with Line. They did fantastic together, and then he's like, well, it's my time to depart, and I'm going to the Golden Knights for more money. Finding himself back for his last year of his contract to the Winnipeg Jets, which I like. He can reunite with Patrick Line, why not? And they need a second line center. There you go. And then you have Kopp, or you can bring Kopp as your third line center, or Lowry, and you also have Nate Thompson, good center, but he's more of a bottom six center, like a fourth line center, but key centers, key faceoffs, Nate Thompson does. So having Stastny definitely will be amazing for them again, and maybe they can get back to what they did. Excuse me there. So I think it'll be fantastic for them. Moving on to the Dallas Stars, they didn't really do anything, but I'm going to say Yuri Santo, getting him signed, bringing him back, he noticed that no other team really wants him, and he kind of has to prove himself if someone wants him. So he's going back to the Stars after not playing for a whole year in the NHL or the AHL, playing in Europe, and he comes back, and we'll see what he can do. I'm really interested in what he can do. Moving on to the Coyotes, Johan Larsson was with the Buffalo Sabres. I signed him. He had 18 points last year. He was okay. Adding him to your depth, why not? He'll be a good bottom six player. Next is Nate Thompson. Nate Thompson is a fantastic defenseman for the, well, now it's going to be the Canucks. But before the Golden Knights, he was actually picked from the expansion draft, the original expansion draft from the Golden Knights 3 years ago. So that is fantastic. And I know the Canucks lose Christopher Tavian. They lose Marks, lose to Foley, they lose these guys, But bringing Nate Schmidt is definitely a step in the right direction back. It fills the hole. It does. It really does. I feel like they need one more player on that blue line to kind of solidify something. A cheap contract, but one more player. Like Sammy Vatanen, but they don't have the money for him. It feels like, could you take a $700,000 contract, Sammy Vatanen? Which he's not going to do that, but it just feels like, can you do that? Thank you. Moving on to the Sharks, they didn't make much moves except Dubnyk and Donato, two former Wild now. But Donato, he actually looked very promising with the Bruins. Got traded for Troy Coyle. Never fit well with the Wild, but I feel like he can do something with the Sharks. Good, solid player. Still young, still has a lot to prove, so we'll see what he can do. Moving on to the Oilers, there's two players, Jesse Puljujarvi and Dominic Cahoon. I went with Dominic Cahoon. I think that $775,000 contract for a year is an absolute bargain. They need wingers. They bring in, welcome back, Jesse Puljujarvi. And they bring in Dominic Cahoon. Fantastic. They needed those guys to bring on the wing. They do it because that's what they lack. They have great center depth. Just bring on the wing. They had Barry on defense. The goaltending, it managed last year, so hopefully it manages next year. Moving on to the Flames, they made a lot of moves here, especially bringing in some former Canucks. Talking about Markstrom over here, Tavian, Levo, Domingue. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in Toffoli, but of course he's with the Habs. Yes, thank you. Not going anywhere else, but the Habs. Thank you, Toffoli going now. So imagine if you went to the Flames. I think Canucks would lose their minds if Toffoli went to the Flames too. That would be horrible. As a Canucks fan, my third favorite team, that would be awful. Please no. But Jacob Markstrom, they needed a goaltender. This is the best goaltender they had since Nikita Kiprusoff. So it's been a long time. $6 million for 6 years. That's expensive, but I knew that the Canucks were not going to want to pay that money. And I'm sure the Canucks want to have I'm sure Jacob Markstrom wanted a no-trade clause. And I'm sure the Canucks said, we have Demko. We can't do that. We can't expose Demko because Markstrom obviously doesn't want to be picked up by Seattle, right? So, Flames like, yeah, we'll give you the deal. Come on over. All right, moving on to the Ducks. They bring in Kevin Shaq. I'm like, oh, wow. Shaq going to the Ducks? Wow, interesting. All right. Good, solid. They're showing like a good, solid young team. Going from that old core to the new core. So, definitely fantastic. For the Kings' second overall pick, yes, Quentin Byfield, I gotta put out there. He's gonna be that guy right behind Anze Kopitar. I can learn from him. Absolutely fantastic. They have a lot of great prospects at center. They can move on to the wing, but Byfield definitely is gonna be a future number one center. But now, make him a second line center. Why not? He'll be your guy. Fantastic. And for the biggest goal Knights, they have Alex Pietrangelo. Yes, they bring him for $8.8 million. Yeah, that's a lot, but the Golden Knights are like, we want the best free agent. Yeah, we're gonna go take it. Whatever it takes. Sagan Schmidt, doing whatever we have to be up to the cap once again. We'll bring in Pietrangelo. I was like, how are they gonna do it? But they obviously was able to trade away Schmidt and bring in Pietrangelo, which is look at the goaltending duo, look at the defense, look at the offense. It's just amazing what the Golden Knights are going to be doing. So I hope they win the Stanley Cup with this school. I really hope they do. So thanks for watching. Let me know your favorite one. And if you have any disagreements, I'll see you next video. Any Talk News Sports. That's kind of late because I should be like the video. There you go. Ding the bell, comment, share. We'll try to hit 400 subs, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.